Good to see each one that is here, and I'm sure there'll be others coming in as we get moving along. But go ahead and remind everybody now, next week, time change. You fall forward, spring forward and fall back. So, in other words, you're going to lose an hour of sleep next week. So, anyway, that is next week, March the 8th. Don't forget, we got the fellowship meal following the services this morning. Hope everyone can remain for that. I've seen a lot of good dishes being brought in back there, so hopefully we're going to have a good turnout for that. Gospel meeting at Hillbridge Road in Dublin on March the 15th through 18th, and Ladies' Day at Hartley Bridge on March the 21st. Jonathan and Tracy have an anniversary this week on the 3rd, and congratulations to Jimmy and Debbie on the birth of Alexander James Chapman. And all still doing well? Good. That's good. Sick list. Remember the different ones. Of course, Nan's certainly got her health issues. Also, Brittany will be having a procedure done in Atlanta on the 18th, March the 18th. So remember her as she's going to have a procedure done up there. Chris Tucker had shingles last week, haven't had any updates. And remember Debbie Taylor, her family got a lot of stuff going on at this time as well. There's others listed in the bulletin. Remember these different ones. Pat's sick this morning. Good to have Miss Betty with us this morning. Any other announcements we need to get started? Good night. Keith, would you lead the open prayer, please? Have been doing a series on the fruit of the Spirit, and today we're going to be considering, to start with at least, we may get into two of them, but we're going to start out with the fruit of long suffering. And that is a word that we are accustomed to from Scripture. It's also a word that we probably have some idea as to its meaning. But we might also recognize that sometimes words can be used in different contexts. And whenever we look at this particular word, in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew, it had a specific meaning. And then in the New Testament, in the Greek, it had somewhat of a different meaning. So first of all, in the Old Testament, the word long-suffering literally meant long of nose or long breathing. And do you ever become angry with someone? Perhaps. And whenever you become angry with whoever it might be, oftentimes when that happens, how is your breathing? When you become mad with someone, what happens to your breathing many times? It gets faster, doesn't it? Yep. Oh, you can just see you boiling over. Smoke comes out of your ears. You can just your breathing accelerates, and that's the context of the Hebrew word. But in the New Testament Greek, the idea there is, it carries the idea of being patient. And generally speaking, whenever we, at least myself anyway, when I think of the word long-suffering, I generally think of it in that context of patience. And that's the idea of it there. Long-suffering. Well, do we have any biblical examples of long-suffering? What's the greatest, if you will, the greatest example that we might have in Scripture for long-suffering? That would be a good one. Job would definitely be a good one, absolutely. And certainly, we're aware of the things that he encountered. So absolutely, Job is a great example. Jonah is another one. But there's one greater than all of these. God. The long-suffering of God. Now, when we think of the long-suffering of God, in what context do we think of his long-suffering? Would it be like the Hebrew and the Greek of the anger, the heavy breathing and such, or would it be more like the Greek of patience? Probably the patience. Yeah. Could be both. That's right. Exactly right. And but you know, God is long-suffering whenever we consider, you know, the world in which we live, and not just now, but over the generations. Look at the corruption that has been in the world throughout all these ages. And yet God continues to provide for us. His goodness, his care, certainly his patience. You know, he continues to provide for us. You know, he's long-suffering, he's patient. You know, he's there for us. Now, that being said, how many of us consider ourselves to be long-suffering? You may have different answers to that. Every day? Okay.
Well, you got to look at the fact God gave his only begotten son.
Mm-hmm.
He suffered, but he turned around and gave up that opportunity to be like his son. And in all our challenges, even though he right there with us, we suffer.
Okay. Now, going back to what Mr. Eddie said a while ago, when we make long-suffering applicable to us, it very well could be in both senses. Now, we may be long-suffering in the fact that, you know, we look at the surroundings and things and perhaps things that may happen to us or whatever. Then certainly we may very well become upset with and angry and carries the idea of the Hebrew in that respect. We're upset with it. But then we look at it the other side. We very well could look at it from the standpoint of the patience. You know, the people that we're around every day, when you go to school, you go to work, wherever it may be, you go to the grocery store. Who are these people? Could be your neighbors. Maybe your friends. Maybe complete strangers. But the point is, for the most part, these are people of the world. And you go to different places, wherever it may be, and you hear these various individuals saying jokes that are not appropriate, using language that is not appropriate, saying things in front of ladies that they shouldn't say, maybe in front of children that they shouldn't say. And when that happens, what do we generally do? We hear it. I wish we wouldn't say that, but we generally don't say anything to them because, but it can be offensive. And so there's an idea of long suffering. And so, there's a challenge there for us to recognize that everything is not always going to be as it should be. I mean, it's just the way it is. And we can't always control that. One of the best ways for us to be able to control that is, as much as possible, be aware of our surroundings, who's there, the environment, whatever it may be. But that's not always 100% possible. You find yourself in these different situations, and sometimes not a whole lot we can do about it. Let's notice Hebrews 6:12. Hebrews 6:12. That ye be not slothful, but followers of them who go through faith and patience inherit the promise. There again, being patient, recognizing that, the surroundings that we're in, they're going to be somewhat temporary. It can be offensive, but we can't allow these things to direct, where we may be. In Hebrews 10:36, for ye have need of patience, that after you have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise. So there is encouragement there as it relates to just life in general. Be patient, endure, understand that there's going to be challenges. And Hebrews 12 and verse 1. Separate here, page. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and sin which doth so evilly beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Run with patience. Endure. Endure. Doesn't say it's going to be easy, but endure. There's going to be challenges. And certainly, we understand and recognize that it's not always going to be easy. We face challenges in our everyday lives that we have to deal with. In Philippians 4 and verse 11, we mentioned this verse last week. As Paul was saying, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. There's going to be circumstances beyond our control that we just can't control. And why allow these events, whatever they may be, why allow these events to bring us down? Paul is not saying that we've got to accept or appreciate these events, but we can't always change them. So be content with whatever the surroundings may be. If it's something we can improve, well and good. But if we can't, so be it. We can't change everything. And it'd be nice if we could. And But in reality, that's not reality. And we understand that we can't change everything. Certainly, we all face different kinds of troubles. Again, that's unlimited on what that could be, of course. In James 5 and verse 10, take my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. And what is that verse telling us? And it talks about taking into consideration the example of the others who have suffered. I think Miss Betty hit it right off the bat. Look at the Old Testament. And she mentioned Job up front. Absolutely.
Look at Moses.
Yeah, another one, yeah, Moses. The things that they faced, how did they deal with it? Yeah, David's another good example. Several good examples, that's right. Daniel. You know, how did these various ones deal with the challenges, the difficult situations that they were in, the suffering? You know, certainly there's many different types of suffering. You know, there's that physical suffering, but then there's the mental suffering. And that mental suffering can be very devastating, just like the physical can. And we look at people like Job, like Daniel, David, these different ones. How did they deal with their challenges? Prayer, absolutely. Job didn't turn his back on God. Faith is very important. Prayer, faith.
Imagine being Noah. God telling you you need to build this big old boat. And it's going to take you 120 years. You talking about patience
Yeah,
and endurance.
yeah.
Ridiculing you.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy man, you know, you're talking about, you know.
That's exactly right. You know, 120 years, hasn't rained yet. And you're building this great old big boat. Yeah, absolutely. So there are a number of good biblical examples of those individuals who were long suffering and how they dealt with it. Now, what would be for you and I? What would be some of the possible types of long suffering that we may encounter, and how do we deal with it? Obviously, health is an issue. For many, it could be financial stress. It could be family problems. You know, it could, on and on we go with the possibilities. And how do we deal with it? I think y'all were just touching on it a while ago. Number one, pray about it. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Pray about it.
I think one thing that would help us is being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like with our attendance, being consistent with our attendance, being consistent in working for the Lord. That would definitely help.
Absolutely, yeah. And you bring up a couple points there. Being consistent in our attendance, that's one aspect. And certainly we know from Hebrews 10 that the importance of that. But the life of a Christian is more than our assembling together. It's what are we doing as individuals, as congregation? Are we involved doing the work of the Lord? And there's many aspects of that, of course. And it's a good, very, very valid point. you know, the more we do, the more content we would be, and the more we would learn how to deal with the different challenges. So these are good points. And, you know, long suffering, patience. I trust that I have more patience now than I used to have. I believe I do. But it's not always as it needs to be.
I see those on the highway that have very little patience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Road rage. Yeah. Yeah. Just got to get by you, and then you get to the stoplight, and there they sit. You know, see it all the time. But that's a good example right there. And you know, I know for myself, and maybe this is an age thing. How many of us get more frustrated now at little things than we used to? I know I do. I do. I'll go do something really real simple. What should be something simple. And sometimes I just get frustrated. And Ginger will say, stop before you get all frustrated. Yeah. You know. But I see in myself, I see that more and more. Patience. Long suffering. It is indeed a challenge that we all face. And a key word to help us deal with the long suffering, whether it be in the aspect of anger management or whether it be in the aspect of endurance, a key word is attitude. What is our attitude as we face whatever these challenges might be?
That should be positive.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Jimmy said, you know, I face that every day. People put a lot of that going on for you to you.
Yeah.
And you might, all you do is say, no, you know, and slow down, because see, it's going to happen again. So, you know, I kind of prepare myself for that kind of.
Yeah.
And mine is a dripping faucet.
No,
I mean,
you supposed to turn it off
I
tight.
mean, you know, I can lay in the bed, and that faucet's still dripping.
Exactly.
He need a seal in his.
You know, as most of you know, I grew up on a bread truck. My daddy ran a bread route. I ran bread routes for years. And like in any job, you have your good days, you have your bad days. You have your days of frustration. And I remember often I would tell myself, hold up a minute. One of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to run that route the way I know it needs to be ran, or that route's going to run me. And so slow down and regroup. And reason through these situations. You know, the attitude, you know. What is supposedly, for most people, allegedly, the worst day of the week? Monday. Oh, it's Monday again. Why do people not like Monday? Got to go back to work. Yeah. Starting all over. Here we go again. Got to go back to work. Got 5 days, maybe 6 days before I have another day off. And so you go through that every week. You go through that cycle. But you get up on Monday morning, like you say, here we go again. Or it's Monday. Let's go have a good week. Attitude. Makes a difference. We have those here who are in the medical field. We have those here who are in the educational field. I know William, you're in the educational field. Joe sees people, and he puts them to sleep. Sometimes he wakes them up. And, that's always a good thing. Deborah, now, so we got different people doing different stuff. But Joe go in there and he's getting ready to put someone to sleep, and Joe's going grumpy and grouchy. Ain't too sure about this guy. But if you go, hey, everything's going to be okay. Attitude. You see your students. You may be the first pleasant face they see all day. And they need that. They need that. So, as we face the different challenges, attitude is so significant. And James teaches us to count it all joy. And we've talked about this verse before. It's not always easy to do. And sometimes we can look back on it and see the benefit of it rather than at that moment. But whatever the scenarios, Paul says be content. And we're told that with thanksgiving and supplication, approach these challenges, approach these situations. They're going to be there.
Here, I think one thing that really frustrates me, being old, everything we got now is smart. My phone, my iPad, my computer, first thing you have to do is log in. Then you gotta put your username, you gotta put your password, you gotta do this, and then we will call you to verify this who you are. So, this is ridiculous.
It is. Exactly. You're right. Everything's got a username, it's got a password, and you got to get it just right. Is it a capital letter or a small letter? And then, I finally got it. Well, then they change it. Change the password. And you got to start all over. I mean, I'm 100% with you. And like you say, you got your smartphones, you got your smart TVs, everything. I hate to say it, but it's smarter than you. And they really are.
Our new,
In their own way.
our new range, this is smart range, and it tells me when it's time to cut it off and turn it on. I can start it with my phone, and it talks to us.
Yeah. We have one of our television in our sunrooms as one of those smart televisions, and it's smarter than I am by all means, and that's not hard to do. But I get ready to watch a ball game and it needs to be on a certain channel. I'm sitting there. Oh, come on! Ginger come out there and take the remote, and she'll fiddle with it. She may get it, or she may say, "Brittany, come over and find this." Smarter than we are. This technology is a good thing. But it's got its limitations too. But I agree with Jimmy. I mean, that's frustrating. The technology age is for you younger folks. Not old folks like Jimmy. No, it's me or you.
Depends on what day it is.
Yeah, really. That's right. But that's exactly right. Challenges. And, we have to face these challenges to the very, very, very best that we can. It's not easy. Patience, endurance, long suffering. So long suffering can certainly carry the idea of pain, but not always. The endurance, patience with it. Thoughts or comments on long suffering? It is and can be a challenge for us, of course.
When
Yeah.
when I try to research something on the internet, or on my phone, 42 other things come on straight. I think get rid of that. I want to find dozens of. I can't find it, because this other stuff gets in the way.
Yeah. And you get on the internet, you've got a certain thing that you're looking for, and you try to think, okay, what do I need to type in to bring up what I'm looking for? And you type whatever it is, and it may or may not be what you're looking for. And then here you go, you're on a wild goose chase trying to find it. And Deborah, you're in the medical field. You deal with patients. They say, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with this, but maybe it's true. They say one of the worst things that a patient can do is to research whatever their ailments are on the internet. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, in a way.
In a way, I can see where it could be. Because you can go on the internet and whatever the ailment may be, you look it up. Boy, you got all kinds of definitions, all kinds of possibilities.
All kind of cures.
All kinds of cures, yeah, absolutely. And, and we may self-diagnose whatever the problem is. And we may not even be close. So I think it's got its advantages and disadvantages. I think you're probably right.
Depends on what they're researching, but where they're looking. There are some good sites that the general public has general, but not every sites.
Now, most of you are like me. Now, Deborah would not be, Joe would not be. But if you're like me and you look it up and you see, well, this, well, here's a word that long I can't even pronounce, let alone know what it means. And so, it's not doing me a whole lot of good. So, many times we will come to our own conclusions, and it may or may not be right. And have you ever heard, and I've heard this growing up over the years, you got knee pains. Have you ever heard someone say, put some WD-40 on it, on your knees? I've heard that.
My dad used to do it.
Hey, I tried it.
He still used that word?
I tried it. Guess what?
Well,
It didn't work.
I know.
But these self-cures, some of them are good, some of them not. And so, be careful. Long-suffering. Long-suffering is not a bad thing. It's how we handle it.
Long suffering ain't bad no way, because see, even when we suffer, God right there with us.
Absolutely.
He don't answer us when we want him to answer. He answers on his own terms. So long suffering is beneficial for us as we work.
Absolutely. Again, attitude. Patience. And if it's, as the Hebrews word would be, if it's anger, can we handle it? Can we manage it? Again, that's one I trust that I have become better at over the years. And it don't just happen. It takes an effort to get to those points.
Slow to speak.
Yeah. Have you ever said something, as soon as you said it, sure wish I hadn't said that, but once you said it, it's gone. It's like you put something on the internet. You mash that button, it's gone. It's gone. Can't go take it back.
Toothpaste out of the tube.
That's right, toothpaste out of the tube. That's right. Okay, so that's some thoughts regarding long-suffering, and we will stop there and pick back up here in just a few minutes.